Good afternoon. Hope everyone is doing great. I'll start with a big shout out to Brad Keller and the women's volleyball team who swept UCLA last night. I don't know if you were in the building, but it's a big win for them. Now it's also basketball season, which is exciting. We're looking forward to opening at home on Tuesday and just been really excited about the team and the work that we're putting in. And like everyone else, we have a long way to go, but I'm excited to get started on Tuesday night.
Perfect. We will take questions now. Anybody want to go first?
I will. Oh,
Perfect. Go ahead,
I
Nikki.
didn't realize it was voluntary. Sorry. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Can you give us an update on how Jazzy's been doing since the last time we talked to you?
Good. Uh, Jazzy had to miss a bunch of practices at some point with an illness, but now she's good. And so, not to harp on that, but when you're an incoming freshman, there's just a lot coming at you. But her work ethic, her ability to impact the game at both ends of the floor, she's just going to be incredibly significant for us. And she's just a really special kid, a really special competitor, and a special player. So I'm excited, to get going with her and the rest of the team.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, Lindsay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Um, I'm wondering if you could break down what you've seen from your front court so far. Obviously, that group looks a lot different than it did last year. I feel like we don't know a ton about the pieces that you have there. So, how do
Right.
you sort of view that picture right now?
I mean, to be honest, I think it's still evolving, right? The honest answer is that, Rhea was a 3-year starter, right, and a future WNBA player, and Kiki was arguably the best front court player in the country last year. And so that was pretty established. And then off the bench, you had probably, the best post defender and a 6'6" kid. Like we with Clarice, like we knew exactly what we had and we had to evolve a little bit. And this has been a lot more of learning each player. And it's going to be by committee, that is for sure. We have sort of 4 players in that group, and you can kind of add Diana Mendez as like a fifth. She swings a little bit more perimeter than some of them, but between Kai Milton and Viv and Laura and Gerda, I mean, I'm honestly like, I don't know who's going to start. I don't know exactly, the rotation amongst them. I think that everyone is going to be needed, and it will be more by committee than it has been or than it was last year. That said, we have really high hopes for the production that they can give us. I mean, they're fast and athletic. We hope that they'll give us points in transition. We know that we can defend on the interior and on the perimeter. I think you'll see them a lot in pick and roll. But I think, the hope will be that we can rotate them and have a lot of just energy and pace because no one should be playing tired. We're encouraged about the work ethic of that group and what they can grow to become for sure.
Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, when we know the season's starting, when the preseason polls come out, and it doesn't obviously dictate how the season's going to go like, but USC was at 18 in the AP poll and 16 in the coaches poll, and it felt like a lot of the fan base felt like the team wasn't getting enough respect. Does your team kind of feel the same way in that feels like it's not getting nationally respected, or are you guys playing kind of almost like a chip on your shoulder going into the season?
I mean, we have minimally, if at all, discussed preseason rankings because I don't feel like it's relevant with this group. Last year, I felt like we really had to discuss them because it was part of what we were going to be. Like we have to embrace these expectations, and I think I would have been foolish to like ignore them. This year, I think I'd be foolish to do anything but ignore them. And I love where women's basketball is, that there's so much more coverage and there's so many more, things going on now, but it largely is sometimes educated guesses and sometimes uneducated guesses. No disrespect to anyone on this call. I know you guys are educated, right? But there's transfer portals, there's kids in different situations, there's incoming freshmen. I think it says a lot about our program that a couple years ago, we were hoping to get our first NCAA tournament bid in a very long time, and this year, fans are fired up when they think 18 is not is disrespecting us. Like either way, I think it's all part of our growth process. But for our team, I think we have a chance to be very good. And yet there's a lot of that's still more unknown than at this time last year. And so that's a me having my work cut out, the team being in it together. So I really am, it sounds cliche, but I'm more worried about, what we looked like in practice yesterday. We have the day off today, how we're going to come tomorrow, like that steady climb. And then I think we'll get where we want to go and where we should be. And I'm not too concerned about it. So I'm not using it as a chip with the team. It's more of we know we have a lot to prove this group because we haven't done anything together yet.
Nia, go ahead.
Hi, Coach Gottlieb. Nice to virtually meet you. I'm working with the Big Ten and I'll be sidelined next week for the home opener. So super excited for that. And I just wanted to know first, like, what have you seen from Laura Williams and her progression? She didn't play last year, obviously, and now she's getting back to her normal self, first time on the court, first time being on Galen next week. Just what have you seen progression from her over the summer and the off season?
Yeah, and right. So we've had a couple people, who are going to be part of, our rotations who haven't got as much practice time as others. I mentioned Jazzy. Gerda was out for a little bit. Laura has been on a return to play progression. So the first thing is, Laura's an incredible athlete and has a really high work rate and what we call just a multiple effort kid. And we saw that last year. And then unfortunately she tore her ACL in October. And the rest of the year was, credit to her of her being really engaged in her rehab, being engaged with the team. So she never missed a beat in terms of just relationships with the team and being part of everything, but she wasn't, in the same reps as everyone else. And she worked really hard. Her conditioning is unbelievable for a kid who's come off an injury. Her, like I said, all those intangibles that she brings, her length, her effort, her athleticism, are there instantly. She needs to continue to get reps to feel really comfortable in everything that we're doing, but she impacts play when she steps on the floor because of those things. And I think she can definitely be part of our front court rotation that's going to come at people in waves.
Thank you. And then I had a follow-up question. I just wanted to know what you've seen from New Mexico State on film and what do you believe are some keys to a first win next week?
Right. So I've seen nothing on film from this year because there is nothing on film. They had one exhibition game of scrimmage that was not streamed. It was not anywhere. So, but obviously, Coach Jody Adams has a style. I remember, her from when she was at Wichita State and now New Mexico State. They turned over the team that they played in the exhibition game, I think 39 times. So obviously they're going to, play with a lot of effort. They're going to play up tempo. They have, well, they have five newcomers, five transfers. They started in that scrimmage for players who were on the team last year. So we're going to do the best that we can to get a sense of who they are. But it'll be more about our ability to take care of the ball and get ourselves in the positions that we need to be successful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Haley, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Obviously, the starting lineup is not solidified yet, but what are the qualifications, or maybe a better word might be characteristics, are you looking for in your ideal starter?
Well, I mean, no different than in our 6-man, 7-man, 8th-man, 9th-man. Like seriously, I think our depth is going to be part of what we're doing, and I think whoever doesn't start, comes off the bench at our 6th player or 7th player might play more minutes. We don't know, but ideally, I think what we're looking for is we're playing with a lot of versatility and a lot of pace. So everyone that steps on the floor for us has got to be give a ton of effort on the defensive end and play with pace on the offensive end, like run the floor. Then we always, like people who can slow down and make the right read, make the right basketball play. I actually had a WNBA GM in the gym the other day who said, I think you're really doing these players a service by trying to get them to play with each other, not just be on a train track, and sometimes that takes time. And so, we're looking for obviously the players in combination that work well together, that can play against various types of styles. Certain teams will try and heat us up, certain teams will try and slow us down. Some teams are going to play a zone. So you want people who can understand kind of the assignment, regardless of what the other team is trying to do.
Sabrina, go ahead.
Hey, Lindsay, good to see you.
Sabrina.
I realize starters are not set, but I assume Kennedy Smith is going to find her way onto the court quite a bit. Just as one of your few rotation returners from last year, just what sort of progression have you seen out of her this summer, and like what do you want to see more out of her this season?
Kennedy will start. I know that. That's for sure. Yeah, she's been really terrific trying to make that leap from a really important freshman to a sophomore that has to take on more responsibility. And I think with Ken, why she's so good and why she's so valuable to teams is that taking on more responsibility for her doesn't necessarily mean shooting more or scoring more. I think she will do that, but she just makes the right basketball play over and over, right? And so it's adding to her skill set but also adding to her leadership, right? Because she just can elevate other people with the way that she plays also. So I've seen growth in terms of, just her fitness, being able to do what she does for longer periods of time, with her leadership and her understanding that she impacts others in all ways. And then the other big thing is we're trying to put the ball in her hands in more spots because I think that one of her strengths as a player is, I mean, she can shoot the three. She can go get you a bucket if you get it to her, but she can also play make for others. So I'm trying to find areas of where she can just have the ball in her hands to make decisions for others. So just maybe more of a higher usage rate on the offensive end in that sense. And then defensively, she remains really good, and we're gonna move her around and hopefully feed off other people as well. I think between Malia's defensive prowess and London and Jazzy, like in that at Cara Dunn, like I've talked to Kennedy about not just being an elite defender, but also making those around you more effective with who we have. I think we have the potential to be really good defensively.
Thanks, Coach.
Mia, if you want to go ahead and go next.
Hi, Coach. I was wondering, this year you guys have almost a completely new team, only a couple of returners. So I was wondering, how do you see the chemistry on the team? How is it meshing? Just kind of like what you're seeing overall in practice so far.
Yeah, I think that's been a positive thing. Right from the start over the summer, it was a team that I think organically got along really well. I think spent time together of their own accord, without me mandating it. And I think the way that we play is going to necessitate everyone's participation in it. Where I think we can make growth is having that chemistry really translate to talking to each other on the court, right? Like, and I'm not talking about just high-fiving. That stuff is important, but really like with the freedom that we give them that it matters. Like if you can direct someone to wait on a screen or talk about kind of the action or play in groups, nonverbal communication of playing in groups of 2 and 3. I think that's when we're going to get really good, when that takes that next step. But I've been super pleased with the way that they show up for one another. I think it has like I said, an authentic and organic chemistry to it for sure.
Cece, go ahead. Thank
You're
you.
muted. You're muted.
There you go. Hey, Coach. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
You touched on it a little bit, but I want to get more specific about the guard development and the chemistry amongst the guards as they're playing together with their pace of play and understanding each other's tempo. How do you see them growing right now with their chemistry together?
Yeah, I mean, it continues to be a work in progress. I mean, we know that we've got a bunch of guards who can go. They have different skill sets. We have different kids who can handle the ball and lead the break. So we're working on that every day. We do, transition drills, against our male practice squad or against each other, where different people are the lead guard, different people are, on the weak side, different people running, the strong side wing. And so it's a continued evolution there, but we hope that that is a real strength of ours.
Isabel, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask about Jazzy too. But first, I think I missed it. So she's been sick, correct?
She's fine. She's fine now. She missed some practices.
Okay, cool. So I actually met her last year, and she told me she's just naturally very shy. So when she visited, Juju was her host, and she said like Juju kind of got her out of her comfort zone, and she was like talking to her along a lot. So I was just wondering, now that she's actually on the team, what's that relationship been like between her and Juju? Being a high-profile freshman, and has she gotten any advice from Juju?
Yeah, I mean, she and Juju, to me, from my vantage point, having a unique relationship with each of them, there's a lot of similarities between the two of them, actually. I think natural introverts who live and die the game of basketball. Like it's really cool, to kind of see how much each of them loves the game and put the game first and then have, kind of a stardom that follows them because of how good they are at basketball, but it's not necessarily natural to them. I don't know that that's what, that's not why they started playing the game. And so I do think Juju was instrumental in Jazzy's recruitment. And I think Jazzy wanted to play with Juju. And now obviously this year will look differently in that, Juju won't be on the court with her, but she has continued to be someone that, I've really encouraged Juju that no one knows what Jazzy's about to go through, as a high profile freshman other than Juju. And so I think that relationship is important. And it's a good one. There was a day the other day when Jazzy wasn't, going to be in what we were doing, a scrimmage or whatever, because she was still in her return to play. But I come out of somewhere and I see the two of them in their sweatsuits, like getting ready to not play. And I'm going, this is an interesting sight, right? Have this much talent, sitting on the side. But I also think it's good, it was good for them, obviously, anytime that they spend together, iron sharpens iron. And I think Juju will continue to be a good mentor from Jazzy. But yeah, both natural introverts and both real workers and just incredibly kind and humble, kids who just happen to be really good at basketball.
Uh, Sorry, Lindsay, I think I was supposed to go next. I talked to Jazzy's teammates that she had played with over the course of the last 8 years. She'd like kept with the same team over the course of that same time, and all of them kind of said the same thing about how she just had an innate ability to bring out the strengths and kind of account for the weaknesses of the players around her. And I wonder if you've been able to see that, even though, this hasn't been that much time, clearly not 8 years that they've spent together, and maybe how difficult is it to not expect too much out of her in that respect, just because, she is ultimately new and still trying to figure this out.
Yep. I mean, I definitely, I study basketball for a living. I go home and watch the film, and sometimes you see the nuances, right? Like she was out of practice one day, and we did a scrimmage thing, and one team lost. I put her on that team the next day, and they won by a lot, and it was everybody was elevated. I think her effort level. Um, is very unique, right? Like just in her, she never gives up on a play defensively, offensively. And then she has a skill set where she can be the alpha and try to go get a bucket, where she shoots the ball very well, but she also has, a smoothness to her game where she can move off the ball and just draw defense away and let someone else, have more space to score, or she can be an assist creator. So she's just, I think someone who very naturally makes the game easier for others. So yeah, we see that. We see that on the court. But in terms of the messaging I'm giving her, the talking to her, I'm trying to talk to her every day about, you do not need to be anything other than what your best self is. And that, even though we anticipate, her being super important to us her freshman year, that's not an additional pressure. And it certainly doesn't mean that there's any notion of perfection, right? And that's another way I think Juju can really help mentor her. Juju had one of the most remarkable freshman years we've ever seen, but that doesn't mean it's always linear. That doesn't mean it was perfect. It doesn't mean that there weren't struggles within. And I think great players and great athletes at any level, it's how you kind of handle what's coming and respond to when, it isn't perfect versus expecting it to be perfect. And so you're trying to really just help her navigate whatever's coming as are her teammates. And I think she'll be just fine with all of that.
Thanks.
Hey,
Hi.
Coach. How you doing?
Hey, Mickey,
Good.
Professor
I
Turner.
was wondering, I was wondering, much of your offense did flow through your player of the year, and some other significant players. And I was wondering if you've had to make any significant tweaks in your offensive strategy coming into this season.
Well, I mean, I would say I would put myself in the category of not someone who says, hey, this is my system. This is a, Lindsay Gottlieb USC team. This is the only way we're going to play. And every kid who comes in has to fit in this box. That's never been my style, right? I think that I have philosophies about how the game should be played or how to best, maximize talent in women's college basketball. But you shift it a little bit based on your personnel. So absolutely, absolutely, we've tried to play to the strengths of this group, which is have some similarities to last year, but not exactly the same, right? And no, we're not asking anyone to be Juju and do what she did. We're not asking anyone to be Kiki, but we're asking the team as a collective, hopefully, to be able to produce offensive and defensive numbers and efficiencies that are, winning basketball type of numbers.
Thanks.
Jordan, go ahead.
Coach, obviously the first game is just the first game. There's plenty more that are coming after it. But how much would you say this first game really sets the tone for the rest of the season?
I mean, I wouldn't see it that way. I think anytime we step on the Galen Center floor, we want to be the team that this community is proud of. We want to be, the team that's taking a first step towards, a season that we're going to be proud of. But there's no more, there's going to be a lot of excitement around it. I think you always have to appreciate a first and what comes with that. But I don't think it's necessarily, any one game, sets the tone overall. I mean, we know what's coming with our schedule. I mean, you've seen it. We've got 4 games against the preseason top 3 in the country. I mean, that's wild. We've got, I think, 10 games against the preseason top 25 and something like 17 against teams that played in the tournament last year. It's the hardest schedule in the country. So any one game can't set anyone anything, right? Like we have to be nimble, we have to be resilient, we have to be competitive, no matter what the first game looks like, or no matter what the second game looks like. And going forward, there's just a new challenge in front of us every day, and that's exciting.
And just to build on that, I also wanted to ask as well, scheduling these non-conference games with South Carolina, Connecticut, and NC State, what does it say about your program to wanting to play these big games against the marquee programs?
Yeah, I mean the goal when I took the job here was to build, the preeminent program in women's college basketball, and I say that with again a lot of humility. Like there's teams that have done way more than I've done, than we've done here. We have a long way to go, but you certainly can't get there if you're unwilling to play on the biggest stages against the biggest competition. Now, did I schedule this thinking, it's Juju's junior year and whoever else we have, and we're really sure. But like I've said, the program standards remain the same no matter who graduated, who's injured, who's coming in, if you're trying to have a program that is at that level. And the history shows the best programs have played other, really top programs along the way, and that's what we're trying to get to. So we will learn a lot about ourselves. It's not a schedule that's designed, to win every non-conference game by an average of 40 points, right? It's a non-conference schedule that's designed to put us on the biggest stages that our players want. I remember when I was recruiting Kennedy, and we didn't have the greatest schedule the year before. She said, is this what the schedule's gonna be like going forward? And I said, no, not if you come here, right? Like we want to take these challenges, and so here we are, and that's what it's going to be going forward. Someone told me, I'd never heard it, but someone told me Pete Carroll would say anyone, any place, anytime kind of thing. That's really how we see it. We want to be strategic, obviously with timing and where we're going and home games and road games and all that. But we certainly want to be a team that's known for a willingness to play the big games. And this year, I think it's going to teach us a lot, and it's going to speed up our growth. And I think that's important.
We have time for one more question. Does anyone have anything?
I'll ask another one if we have time.
Go ahead, Ryan.
On that note, Lindsay, when you have so many unknowns kind of with the roster and how it'll mesh together, you may have just kind of answered this question, but does it help in your mind to have those like very tough tests right away in terms of, sort of forcing the team to go into the fire and come out the other side? Or is it a special challenge because you don't totally know what to expect and can't maybe prepare in the same way that you might have when you had like a known product?
No, I think the former. Like, well, I think this team is highly capable. It's highly capable. And so how do you know where you need to get to, or how do you know how well you can compete if you're not playing, teams that are really, really good? I don't think we would learn enough if we scheduled just to win games. I don't think you get better that way. Now we have to make sure that we're just sort of resolute, like in identifying what, the the goals are and how we, you know, achieve them. And it's going to take this against this team. It's going to take that. And if, you know, there's a setback here and here, being resilient, but you don't know any of that if you're just winning every game by 40 because you're physically superior. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a real challenge. And ultimately, you know, we want to be able to win, you know, a conference championship and a conference tournament championship and an NCAA championship. So, you know, games in you know, November and December are really important towards that, but they're most important in terms of your growth and how good you can become from them. And that's what we're looking for.